In today's episode, we're going to be getting inside the small greenhouse, cleaning it out, and getting some of my plants in there ready to overwinter. So join me while I show you how we do that. If we have a look behind me here, we can see that this is quite a mess. We can see inside here there's just a lot of junk that I've stored in here. It's time to clean this all out and make space for our overwintered plants. I'm going to go clean this out now and I'll get it ready so that I can show you what I'm going to be doing with the overwintering, and I'll also give you a bit of an idea of what I'm going to be doing with this when it comes to about January time when we start our seeds. So there we go, it's all cleaned out now, and it's time for us to do a bit of insulating. So that over there is some bubble wrap. It's about 30 meters, and I need to figure out how I'm going to be attaching it in here. So the connectors I'm using to attach the bubble wrap inside here, they basically slot in here. The problem is I only have a rail down the center. I don't have on the edges. I should have probably checked that. So I'm gonna have to figure out another way to attach it on the edges. We'll figure it out as we go, but basically we're just going to be lining the inside of this with some bubble wrap, and what that's going to do is allow us to make sure this is as insulated as possible, because the heater that I'm going to be using in here, it's just a bar heater. It's going to go down the bottom here. It's not very powerful, it doesn't need to be, because all we need to do is just make sure that the frost doesn't get in here. But with this being insulated, it's going to make the world of difference in terms of keeping the heat in here and being able to heat it up rather quickly. So let me try and figure out what I'm going to do with the bubble wrap, and I will be right back with you. Okay, so actually that wasn't too bad. The hardest part about what I've just done is these stupid clips. So if you have a look at these clips, they don't exactly fit this hole properly. So you have to use a bit of force to clip them in. It's a bit of a pain in the backside, to be honest. There you go. So that's on there now, and basically you're just pushing this. If you have a look here, you don't even have to make a hole in the plastic. You just push it up against there, push it in the slot, and then twist. I've got this all up. You can see down the middle strut I've managed to get it all in there, so that's all good. Now I need to figure out how I'm going to attach it up here. Now I need to just figure this part out. So basically I need to get this to stay upright. So leave it up there and then just clip it all in. So I'm going to try and do that, and I'll come back to you and let you know how I did it. So we've finished up now, and let's go have a look and see what we've done here. So it doesn't have to be perfect. I prefer that this was a little bit tighter in here, but it's not going to matter with what we're doing in here. Basically you can see it's all nicely insulated in here. I had to jerry rig a few things, so just use some string around some of the supports inside here, as well up here. So it's gonna do the job. I might tape up the edges with some clear tape. I might do that. I might just tape up the edges, but other than that, this is all looking pretty good. So it's time to start putting some stuff back in here, like the tables, and we're gonna get some plants in here and start their overwintering. It started raining, and I'm finishing up for the day. I want to go and spend some time with my wife, but I'll just show you what I've done so far, and we'll finish this up tomorrow. These here are the plants that I will be overwintering. There's just 6 of them, and I chose them for specific reasons. We'll start off over here. These are the super hots that I'm going to be doing, but it's not because they're super hots that I'm overwintering. I'm overwintering this one over here because this is my Frankenstein plant, and I want to see what happens to it next year. It's the one with fasciation, the Trinidad Douglas. Over here, the Cardi MOA bonnets. I just really like these, and I want some early ones next year. Over here, the Naga Brain chocolate, again another one that had some fasciation, and I want to see also what happens to that next year. The Jalapeno Goliath, I don't know, I think this looks really cool, this plant. It's all knobbly and I don't know, I think it deserves to be overwintered, so I'll be doing that one. Also get some early jalapenos hopefully. Here we have the Sugar Rush Peach, again a beautiful pepper, and it'd be nice to get some early ones next year. And also we can see this one here, it's just got so much new growth coming through already. Obviously it wants to live, so we'll give it a chance. And then here's the Tabasco. I just didn't get a lot from this plant this year, and I think it needs a longer season. So if I overwinter this, at least it gives it a better chance, and we'll see how it does. So that's it, 6 plants. Tomorrow I'm going to be preparing these properly for overwintering. I've already obviously trimmed them back, and you can see it's pretty drastic how I trim them back. Most of them here, this one I've just left some green on it. We'll just leave it like that maybe. It is raining, I gotta go and put all this stuff back, so let me get to it. I'm gonna go sort out all that mess, and I'll be back with you again tomorrow, just in a few seconds in your time, and we'll finish up in the small greenhouse. It's the next day, and it's really nice to see my plants inside there. Normally wintertime I don't have any plants to look after or watch what they're doing, so it's nice to have a few this time around. So let's take a look in here and see what I've been up to this morning. So not much with the plants, I haven't done anything there, and I'll explain why in just a second. But I have put in this here. This is basically just a thermostat, and you can set in the temperature you want it to kick in at, and this is the current temperature there, 9.4 degrees Celsius. So I've set it at 3 degrees. I'll keep an eye on it. Maybe I'll do it a little bit higher than that, I don't know, or lower, we'll see. But 3 degrees, that means that the thermostat, which is running down here, it's inside one of my plants. So it's just this little probe over here. So that goes inside the plants. If the soil itself gets lower than 3 degrees, then the heater, which is under there, will switch on and start heating up in here. And that'll give it time, because if we had this probe outside, then it's just going to go on air temperature, and that can change and fluctuate. So with me even holding it here, this temperature will start going up. You can see that rising very quickly. Air temperature obviously drops a lot quicker than soil temperature. So even if it gets below 0 degrees Celsius, the soil could potentially still be quite warm because of the thermal mass. And that brings me to my next point. The pots here have a high thermal mass, right? So that means that there's a lot of physical mass inside there, the soil, and with that it allows it to maintain a temperature for a longer period of time. So if it was a smaller pot and the temperature dropped to 0 degrees Celsius, that smaller pot will start dropping in temperature far quicker than these would. And that's why I'm not going to be potting these down. Normally I do that. I would take them out of these pots, I would strip them right back, get rid of all the soil here and put in some new soil. And then I would trim back the roots as well and make sure that this is in a much smaller container. But because I'm going to be leaving this outside this time and not indoors where I can control the temperature, I'm going to be leaving them in these big pots. What I will do is I will scrape away some of the topsoil over here and put a bit of a dressing on the top of some new compost. So I'm not going to be watering very frequently, probably once every week or maybe even 2 weeks, give them a bit of a water. These plants are all going to be quite dormant, and that means they're not going to be growing, they're not going to be needing a lot of nutrients or water. And if you water them too much, same as when you're watering too much during the normal season, the roots don't like being water-bound. So you've got to make sure that you're not going to be causing the roots to die or killing the plant by too much water. I might give a little bit of a feed about 2 months in, so in about 2 months' time. The compost that I'm going to add to the top here, the top dressing, will be enough for the next little while. Something else to point out, this little greenhouse is going to be very active in a couple months' time. I start my seeds in January, and this is the frame that I've built to actually hold the lights. So normally I have my lighting set up and my seed set up inside the house, and I'm going to try doing it out here instead. Hoping it's going to be okay. I'm sure it will. I'll be setting up the lighting over here. These 2 trays will be full of my seeds, and there will be a frame that goes over here, and the lights will be hanging down over them. And that will be in about January time. With this ring of fire here, I'm going to make this an indoor plant. I'm going to trim it right back. I'm going to take it out of this pot, clean off the roots, trim them back, and put them into this pot. And that allows me to overwinter this indoors. So a little bit different to the way I'm overwintering some of my other plants that I have inside the small greenhouse. I'm just trying something a little different this year. So we need to get this out of here and clean off the roots. Before we do that though, we're going to have to trim this back a bit more. Always a bit of a shame, there are some peppers on here. So we can see this branch over here. I need to trim that right back because that's going to be way too big for what I'm trying to do. So and we're going to be doing some further trimming when we have cleaned off the roots. We're going to try and get as much of the excess soil into this other bucket so I can go and put that into the compost heap. We need to get off as much of the dirt as we can. I don't want all this dirt sitting on my grass, so I'm just going to massage it out as best I can. I'm just digging my fingers into it, getting rid of as much of the dirt as I can. I'm happy with that. What I'm going to do now is just lay this on the ground. This I'm going to move away. You can see some of the roots have already come off, but that's not the end of the world. These are very resilient plants. So all we're doing here is with a hose pipe, we're going to clean off the roots. The reason you're doing this is you want to make sure there's no unhealthiness in the roots. I know that my plants are actually really healthy, so this is probably not an essential step, but it does help with us trimming back the roots. And there's our root system looking lovely and healthy. And now let's do a couple further steps before we put it into the new pot. So before we do anything else, I'm just going to mix this up. All this is here is some fresh compost and just general purpose compost, not actually from my garden. I just had some left over in a bag that I'm going to use. You can see down the bottom I've added in some perlite and some vermiculite. So just a couple handfuls each, not a lot. We're going to now have a look at these roots. Get a clean pair of scissors, so these are clean, and we're just going to trim back. Okay, I think that's enough. Poor plant. So what we want to do now is get this plant into this new bucket. Okay. Probably trim this back even more. Just look at the size of the pot. So there we go. Let's just have a look at this. So we want to trim back a bit of the growth here because we want to keep this nice and compact. So I'm going to cut it just above this node over here. It's quite a busy node. I'm thinking this top one here as well probably needs to be trimmed back a little bit. What I'll do is just above where that chili is. So just above the nodes, that's normally helpful because it'll help them shoot out some more shoots, try and stimulate growth. You don't want long spindly stalks like this. You want it to be quite compact, lots of little bit of growth. So like you can see down there, I'm actually going to cut that back as well, and there. So you can see there's a bit of a node over there, and there I will cut it just above. There we go, I'm quite happy with that. And that there is going to be in a south-facing windowsill because I'm in the north, so south-facing, gets sun most of the day. It doesn't need to have as much sun as a full plant would. I'm not trying to get peppers off of this, I'm just trying to overwinter it. So I could potentially just leave this as an indoor plant, or next season I could put it into a bigger pot and let it grow and do its thing. That's a quick update of what I'm doing for my overwintering. Hopefully it was a little bit interesting to you. I will be doing more update videos through the year. I know I'm not doing much inside the big greenhouse anymore, but I will be updating you on what's going on with the overwintered plants, as well as my small indoor plant that we've put in a smaller pot. So I'll keep updated on all that. And of course, if anything drastic happens, like my plants die or something like that, of course I will keep you updated as well. I just opened up a Patreon account, and I would appreciate it if you go have a look and see what that's all about. There's some interesting things that I put up there. For everybody that gets involved on the Patreon side, I'm opening up a private Discord server. What that is just a way to communicate in like a group chat type of way. I thought it might be quite interesting. There's a few other things for the rewards in there that might be of interest. There's some seed giveaways and some merchandise giveaways as well. So go have a look, see if there's anything that interests you there. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Bye-bye for now.